Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the LOL Pro League. My name is Rapid. With me is Sigilus, and we're hopping into game number 2 between Hard Random and Renaissance. Game 1 was kind of a highlight reel for Lex's Vayne, and with no Vayne ban, could be something we see here again. What are you looking for from these picks and bans, Sigilus?
Well, I don't think it's likely that Renaissance are going to ban out the Vayne, because really why that Vayne did so well was because of the crazy lane swaps, and maybe they'll be a bit better prepared for something like that, especially if they see the Vayne, right? So something they can maybe deal with. We are going to see a Kassadin ban coming out of Hard Random. I guess they thought that Hedon did quite a good job on that, but that does free up Lissandra, who is someone we've been seeing dominating competitive play ever since 4.20 hit.
And at least for right now, Lissandra is right up there with the Maokais and Nars of the top lane as an incredibly strong pick. I cannot count the number of times I've seen Lissandras roam down in the middle lane, slide in with Glacial Path, and then just lock somebody up for an easy kill. So a lot of possibilities there, and a little bit of a flex pick, because you can run Lissandra mid, even though it's not necessarily as is expected. But what are we expecting here from Hard Random? I know Nike would have loved to play an Aurelia, but his Aurelia and Gnar are going to get banned away almost every game, and instead of that, this time around, it's Hard Random to lock in the early Xerath.
I like the Xerath pickup here, actually, because, well, I mean, it might not do so well in lane, because we don't know. Obviously, the Lissandra can go top lane, but when it comes to the later stages of the game, it's a lot better to have someone like a Xerath than someone like a Zed or an Ahri or someone like that against a Lissandra, because anyone who needs to be a bit closer is just going to get hit by that Frozen Tomb and locked up and destroyed. So picking a Xerath, being able to abuse your range, means at the very least, we're going to have to see the Lissandra diving further into the team than she's comfortable with in order to go for that burst. So more likely, Lissandra's going to be prioritizing other targets, whereas typically, you know, Lissandra is really good against a lot of the mid laners that we see right now.
Speaking of mid laners, interested to see what the counter to this will be. Cordy, you know, he played that Xerath in the last game, and he actually didn't look too good. But one thing that was very specific for Renaissance when they locked in their early Xerath is that they had already banned out counters to it. Ahri and then the LeBlanc ban specifically. It does look like Cordy knows about those counters and is going to lock in an Ahri, or at least that's what's expected, and possibly a Shyvana from Clover.
Wow.
Now, the Shyvana pick's really interesting. You traditionally wouldn't see her in the current meta just because she takes too much damage early on, but I believe they actually just buffed her burnout so that it does 50% additional damage to monsters, so that should help her early clear just a little bit more.
Yeah, they did indeed buff her burnout, so she's going to be able to get through the jungle a lot faster than she did before. Shyvana's always been someone who, if you can abuse the fact that she duels really heavily in the early game, you can do some good counter jungling, so maybe she'll be looking towards doing that. But I think the most likely thing for her to do is probably just going to be able to farm up really fast and get quite tanky. When you're running a double AP comp like Renaissance are, you need someone to be your front line, so picking a Shyvana is a decent option there. That said, it's very untested right now in the current meta. It's not something we've seen frequently, so Clover could do something interesting with that, we'll have to see. Looks like Lex wants to pick up this Vayne again, and I'm not sure that's the best option here, into a Lissandra and an Ahri. Both of those picks have the ability to really lock down Lex early on.
Well, if we know anything about Lex and his Vayne pick, as long as it's open, he's going to go for it no matter what's coming his way. I mean, he played that into a Lee Sin, into a Leona last game, and didn't have any problems at all. Getting Condemns off at clutch moments to pick up kills and or keep himself safe. So really going to be exciting to see what Lex can do after a dominant performance in Game 1. Madwife didn't have necessarily an incredible Game 1 on Zed, but still came out positive and looked very good. And now with a Xerath in his pocket, interesting to see how he does on a completely different style of champion for Hard Random, although can't quite solidify their picks just yet. And with a Fiddlesticks being hovered over, is this support Fiddlesticks?
Definitely could be, although now with the Mordekaiser,
or are we just getting trolled?
Yeah, I'm starting to become more and more skeptical that that's actually going to get locked in as a Fiddlesticks. Nami would make a lot more sense. Having that disengage could be kind of useful, although I think it would have been better to go for someone with a bit more engage, looking at their composition, someone to help assist Clover get onto people and let Hedon and Cordy move around a bit more. But that is going to get locked in. We see Nami, Lucian in the bottom lane. Obviously, that's a very synergetic lane. You can give that triple attack damage bonus to your AD carry, and Lucian, obviously with the Light Slinger passive, can hit 2 of those very quickly, do a lot of damage. It's going to be decent against the Thresh Vayne lane. Obviously Vayne going to get harassed a lot by a Nami Lucian, but we still might see some crazy lane swaps like we did last game, so they might not be able to abuse that lane the way that they want.
Well, with final rosters locked in for both sides, champion choice is a little bit more interesting. First Shyvana game I have ever personally cast, so excited to see how Clover does with that in the jungle. And like you said, a lot of hard engage from Renaissance might have warranted a more aggressive support pick, but once again, same situation as we had earlier. There's a Kayle intervention to keep Lex alive, and aside from this mid lane pick, a relatively similar composition to that which we saw from Hard Random in Game 1.
Yeah, it is a fairly similar composition. Obviously, they're running the Xerath instead of the Zed, and I kind of like that. The Zed didn't really make anything happen early, in that last game, at least early on, which is where you want the Zed to start making things happen. But I don't know if it's going to be great. The problem is you got the Xerath lane into the Ahri, and that's going to be a struggle. So it's going to be hard for Kira to get off the ground here.
Getting off the ground, something Kayle doesn't have a difficulty with because, wings, but something that may be a little bit more difficult for Renaissance. Traditionally, over the course of the LoL Pro League, it has been a little bit more difficult for them to pick up wins, and now it's do or die in the lower bracket. It's coming down to this. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Renaissance versus Hard Random coming up here in just a minute.
Please play, 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 play. Turbo mode enabled. Pinball. Turbo mode enabled. Turbo mode enabled.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, League of Legends Pro League. My name is Rapid with these Sigilus, and we are into our second game of the night. The best of 3 series between Hard Random and Renaissance. Hard Random, of course, HR in the red, and Renaissance coming out in the blue. And after an incredible game 1 from Lex's Vayne, looking to see some more highlight reel plays from her, and possibly a turnaround, as we have our first Shyvana pick coming out of Renaissance. Will that be the pick to turn things around?
That's certainly an interesting one. It's not something we've seen very frequently, and actually it looks like they want to go for an invade here. Madwife is going to spot them out and back away. Whoa!
Whoa, wait a second. I'm not sure where this fall. The flash bubble into the exhaust. Is this the legendary play that we've been waiting for? The flash forced out. Death sentence there onto Clover, though, but at the same time, starting to wonder about that flash and exhaust used level 1.
It's a really interesting decision to go for that. Obviously, in the bot lane, Hedden is going to have to flash as well. This is backfire horribly for Renaissance.
Yeah, there's this whole deal about, overextending into the enemy jungle. You have to get out of there at some point. That was the weirdest start I've seen, but Renaissance, man, those guys are thirsty, looking for kills early, unable to quite make it pay off.
Yeah, and the fact that they don't have the flash and exhaust in that, bottom lane, there is going to be a lane swap coming out from Hard Random, does mean that they're not going to have quite the same level of kill potential that they normally would. Obviously, in these lane swap situations, we quite frequently see them going for some pressure under the tower, but Nike's going to be a lot more safe than he otherwise would due to that level 1, and also Hedden, on the flip side, is going to be a lot less safe. He does not have his flash available.
Yeah, the lack of an early flash, specifically for Tiki Tickly in the bottom lane, I don't know about that. It's gonna make it very easy for Madwife to walk bottom and gank as long as he avoids the bubble. And we have the same situation as far as lane swaps that we did in game 1, but the difference is that this time Wildheart has rotated up the top for a 2v1 instead of sticking around down bottom.
Yeah, and look how much damage Kira has already put onto Cordy, just because of the fact that obviously taking Charm first means that she can't really put anything back. We see a level 2 hit very early on by Kira, and he is putting down a lot of pressure straight away.
Oh, and the other difference that we saw is that Nike actually got a chance to double jungle through a couple of camps with Madwife, so he'll hit level 2 here in just a second, whereas Clover was solo in his own jungle. The top lane, like you said, getting hooked in there, only tumble damage to come back out as... Fortunately, Lex had not skilled his second point yet, and that's actually something he avoids doing almost all the time, just in case he needs to skill that Condemn up to get away. But could have gotten Silver Bolt's proc off of that for a little bit of extra damage, and still doing a nice job at tumbling away from bubbles and any ice shards that Heathen tries to throw out.
Yeah, it looks like Clover is going for an invade straight away here, so maybe he's... Oh, he's backed off. Never mind. I was thinking maybe we're going to see some of that invading strategy that we used to see a lot from Shyvana's when it was popular. He didn't get hooked in again.
Man, continual hooks, and this time you can just see an exhaust. He's tumbling through for first blood. Lex able to pick up that kill, and in an impressive fashion as always. Like we said, just really impressed to see what he can do on Vayne this game.
Yeah, it's too bad Tickley didn't have an exhaust available. That might have been the difference there. Ooh, the hook goes very wide.
He attempted it, man. If he had gotten that hook, it would have been the sickest play. But unfortunately, you can't predict everything. Wildheart gets caught looking.
Yeah, but as I was saying before, you know, Tickley not having that exhaust due to the level 1 fight meant that, you know, obviously there's no heal on Hedon, he's taking teleport. That was always going to be a kill if they could land enough crowd control. They did, and Lex off to another brilliant start. Obviously, last game we saw him get very far ahead early. Whoa, very early, roamed down by Wildheart as well, not able to land the death sentence, but the pressure onto Renaissance this game is mounting rapidly.
I appreciate your word choice there, my fellow co-caster. But what I do not appreciate is Clover's position right now. Using up all of his sustain in the jungle, having to head back to base. Interested to see what enchant he's going to buy, and it is a Stalker's Blade. Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense. He's going to be going for Devourer enchantment after that, so a little bit interesting to see this early focus. I don't disagree with the item choice, but with the nerf on Stalker's Blade, you guys just tend to see it a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Shyvana doesn't have a huge amount of innate crowd control. She doesn't have anything that can really lock someone down if she comes for a gank or if she finds someone in the jungle. So picking up that Stalker's Blade does give her a little bit more ability to stick onto people. I think that's going to be very useful for Clover. But at the moment, oh man, Wildheart might go in again here.
Man, Wildheart has been all over the Rift so far. Had a couple of great hooks top lane, even though a couple of them didn't land, and he roamed mid right afterwards, catching QWERTY a little bit off guard, but wasn't able to make anything happen there. But it's more just putting that pressure out on the map when you know that Wildheart's gonna be out there, forcing you to make difficult decisions. Like you said, coming in again, Death Sentence follows on a Tickley, and this is not gonna be a good situation. Taking the Lantern to Lex, able to get in there, one more auto attack, or a couple more actually, is all that's needed to flash in, one more, and there it is! Lex taking him down and play backwards onto Hedon could be a little bit of a rough spot for him as well. And Wildheart and Lex, man, this you can just really see the coordination between both of these guys, knowing when they need to flash, knowing when they're going in. Just really good synergy, getting a hard random an early start to this game. Forcing out, the Flay almost stopped that ice path back. Just incredible duo lane from hard random.
Yeah, they're really showing great synergy. Last game, we basically didn't get an opportunity to see how they work together, because obviously Lex was solo laning against Hedon for most of it. This game, however, Lex is just on form, working with Wildheart, and whoa, that was nearly enough.
Oh my
If that
God.
knockback had hit Hedon into the tower, the collision damage would have been enough to pick up that kill. That is insane. Lex is so far ahead right now, although actually, look at his farm. He's about 20 down compared to Death Knight. So that is the one thing that Renaissance has up on hard random.
But if you look at the gold count, you can see overall 400 gold advantage for Lex. Sometimes you don't get as much CS on minions. Lex has been CSing champions, has the first 2 kills of the game. So definitely more worthwhile in that regard. And once again, with a safe lane to position himself in, a great early game, completely uninhibited by Death Knight, even though he is still doing very well in the CS department.
Death Knight's also hit level 6 earlier. Obviously, he's getting a solo lane of experience. And on a Lucian, early levels are actually really good because you're a caster AD carry. Hard random, though, they're going for a 7-minute, 30-seconds dragon. And they've actually got a lot of damage to do this. This makes a lot of sense when you're going to send your your top lane to the bottom lane. Maybe rotating them through the dragon is a good way of getting them there. Although it looks like they aren't sure if they want to commit to going bot yet. They're actually going to invade.
Well, invading, wait, what are they doing? I was trying to think about where they're going there. With pink wards out, this vision coverage is actually really, really good. Oh, don't do it! Don't do it! Okay, Wildheart's gonna miss his hook. Man, if Tickley had stayed around to kill that ward off, that would have been really bad.
Yeah, he is very fortunate that he decided not to do that, but now we're going to see the 2v2 in the bot lane. We've got a level 7 Death Knight compared to Lex's level 5. There's definitely the potential for Renaissance to make something happen here. Like I was saying, because he's an AD carry caster, he does get a lot out of early levels, and look straight away at the damage he puts down on Lex with that BF Sword Piercing Light. He hits really, really hard at the moment. Speaking
of, you're saying casters get a lot of good from early levels. Is that taking into consideration the new way that champions level with, you know, increasing a percentage of their base stats?
Well, it's still very strong. Like, obviously, the changes to the stat growth meant that early level 2s aren't as big a deal, but basically everything past that point is also not cool. Whoa, Death Knight actually gets hooked!
Again, with a play backwards there as well, and it's just not letting up the pressure. Lex continuing to put on all of that aggression.
Yeah, it was a nice attempt there by Lex to get the knockback into the wall. Didn't quite get it. Whoa, look at how much Tickley is healing.
Been a big engage in the mid lane too, with shocking orb. Still forced to flash. Kira once again experiencing that the difficulty of playing that matchup against QWERTY's hard engage.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about in the early game. When you pick a very early Xerath like this, you're gonna get counterpicked potentially. Ahri is really strong against that in lane. And actually, Wildheart, he's going in here again, level 6 hit.
Still some damage forced out by Lex, so you can see Death Knight is actually a little scared of this, even though there's an overall HP advantage. The Bilgewater Cutlass is just very, very scary apparently. Even though there's a sustain advantage for them, I would have expected them to be more willing to fight, but disengaged for now, and a trip back to base for Lex and Wildheart.
Yeah, and at this point, Lex is going to be picking up quite a decent chunk of items. Is going to enable him to put... Oh, Nike!
Gonna go for the hard engaged top lane, but as super tanks do, it's not super exciting. Flash in for the charm on Akira. There's the dive in from Clover, taking him down.
Oh, Hedon is getting slowed up here. Nike really is being very aggressive against this Lissandra early. He does have an early CS lead. It's not significant, but obviously, due to the fact that Hedon died early on the hard randoms bot lane, he is maybe a little bit far behind. Looking at the now 2v2 bot lane as well, I want to talk about this again. Oh, hang on though, because he's trying to come into this mid lane. I don't think he's going to be able to land this hook though. It's pretty far away. Oh, the flash!
Oh, just kidding. Was not able to get in there quickly enough. Madwife's still trying to make it work, but it's just not going to. If Wildheart had had like early mobility boots instead of picking up that Sightstone, that would have been a lot more of a high pressure situation. But unfortunately, he was forced to burn the flash, and with a nice dodge, QWERTY gets out alive.
Yeah, unfortunately for Wildheart, in this kind of a situation, assuming you want to swap back into the 2v2, you kind of have to go for that Sightstone. The mobility boots into the stronger lane will be kind of difficult to justify because you might die if you go for that. So by going for the Sightstone, he's a lot tankier, is allowing him to play very aggressively in the 2v2. But because he's going for the roam, maybe he should have just let Lex sit back and gone for the mobility boots.
Silliest Nicholas, that would have been way too passive. You gotta keep flashing in for hooks and trying to end the game at 10 minutes. So it's an aggressive play style that, while it may not work out all the time, like you noticed, I mean, Wildheart's just been putting so much pressure on the map. He goes back to base, picks up nothing but, I believe, the Fairy Charm, and is already back out on the map trying to make a difference. So Eden might be in a little bit of trouble, but Nike's not going to go too over aggressive. Just clears out the wave and continues to have an overall great presence up here in the top lane.
Look at Wildheart, he is just in this middle lane more than the bottom lane. And actually, Heden's fallen pretty low here. Clover.
Play backwards, but a bubble landed on the Wildheart. QWERTY's going to get in there into everything. A charm over the wall, and even with an exhaust there, QWERTY still helping Clover pick up the kill. Right of the Arcane on the QWERTY, hits all three, but is Kira less immobile? No, gets the snipe down, and with a nice shocking orb will hit on to Tidely. There's a second exhaust out here, but Kira in a little bit of trouble. He's gonna go down. Clover with a double off the back of that. Lex coming in, but Clover hiding off inside the wolf camp. Lex not gonna chase.
Clover's really making a good case for Shyvana at the moment. 4-0-0 at 12 minutes. He is doing some serious work. And actually, he looks like he's working towards that Juggernaut. Or sorry, rather, he's working towards a Phage. Going to pick up that Trinity Force with the Devourer enchant. He is going to be doing a lot of damage as soon as he gets onto someone, which he can do, obviously, very nicely with the Stalker's Blade, Chilling Smite, and the Dragon's Descent. So, yeah, really good case being made for Jungle Shyvana right now. And also, Lex did a nice job there to pick up some kills. He is staying on top of his game, constantly going for kills early on.
Man, this game is pretty crazy. 13 minutes in and only 8 kills, but it's been action-packed ever since. And honestly, I'm really impressed by Clover's Shyvana. It's a new pick. Didn't know what to expect from it, but having 100% of your team's kills is a pretty strong indication that it's a pretty strong champion choice. So interesting to see if that will continue, because at some point it's not the jungler that's going to have to carry the game. You're going to have some strong performances from your lanes, which haven't been showing up so far. Dive into the Dragon Pit, engage there from Hedon, gonna lock up Lex, but there's an intervention, trying to keep him alive. Clover is just way too quick there into the back line. Death Knight flashing away from Nike, he's gonna stay alive. Nike very, very tanky, but is he gonna be able to find a kill? Flash in for the Arcane Smash, making an impact and picking up a kill. There's Hedon to take him down there off to the side, and overall a great fight by RNC.
Yeah, and right at the Arcane, not quite enough range to try and go on to Hedon, but yes, Renaissance did an excellent job of fighting their QWERTY, diving in at the perfect opportunity. Kira actually might get 1v1'd here by Tickley if he's not careful. They got some decent damage.
Yeah, last auto attack is unfortunately not enough to pick up the kill there. Dude, Clover's just going for it. Using, the flash into the shocking orb, though, is just not enough. It's actually the bounce on Ebb and Flow that picks up the kill there for Tickley. So that's a little bit interesting to watch, but still a great fight.
Yeah, really nice there, but synergy by Tickley and Clover, knowing that obviously if you bounce forward whilst the projectile's in the air, the ebb and flow is going to bounce onto your target. Had plenty of damage, obviously Nami maxing that first, as you typically see. That is going to pick up Kira. So overall, everyone died there for hard random. And Renaissance also picked up their first dragon. They're even on dragons with hard random now. They are starting to look, they've got themselves a lead now.
A lead that is not really going anywhere now that things have, really solidified in the item department. The Stalker's Blade with a Devour enchant by Clover has 23 extra stacks for more bonus damage, but oh my god, that crit damage, I've never seen so much red just from one ability. So Lex is going to have to think twice about going into that 2v2, which for once he may be ahead individually, but he's like down 35 CS. It's going to start mattering sooner or later.
Yeah, this is the problem with giving Lucian the solo lane, like I was talking about. Obviously, he is a lot better in the mid-game than a Vayne is, so he's got the potential to make stuff happen. Wildheart tries to go for the hook. Not going to land it, though. And actually, Death Knight put a ton of damage back on the Wildheart. If they do not successfully all-in Lucian right now, they are just getting punished for it so hard that Infinity Edge is doing tons of work at the moment.
Big power spikes, Death Sentence will miss, but Clover's right there. Wildheart is going to get slowed out by that Stalker's Blade, and Clover dominating with 6 kills in his pocket. I don't know if I've seen a Shyvana this huge in a while, but like you said, yeah, Kira in a little bit of a rough spot. Hedon, one right of the Arcane is going to hit, and he will grab that kill on the Hedon. Oh my gosh, he's gonna try to turn it around. QWERTY over the wall though, blowing Lex apart. Mad Wife using that intervention for himself, still unfortunately unable to escape, and again another kill for Clover. 6 kills like we said. I think that one actually went over to QWERTY, but you get the idea. It's a big hard engage, and Renaissance pulling it out when it counts at the brink of elimination from the LoL Pro League. They finally find themselves a huge advantage in Game 2.
Yeah, and it's interesting actually, Clover's going for the Blade of the Ruined King next. He did have a longsword and a ruby crystal last time we checked, but he's decided that instead of going for a phage, he wants the additional slow from the Bilgewater Cutlass to stick onto his targets, and I actually think that's a great decision. Whoa, flash forward by Tickley. Not gonna land though.
I think that was like his level 1 exchange where he's like flash bubbling, exhausting, and nothing really coming out of that. So very aggressive, and to be honest, we've seen that from both supports this game. Wildheart's been all over flashing for some hard engaged attempts too. So maybe this is how you play support in the CIS, but it's working out sometimes more than others.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's been doing pretty well. Nami is actually 1, 2, and 10 out of only 12 kills, so she is doing a solid job. She's got 99% kill participation, basically. And, you know, on the flip side, look at Thresh, 0, 3, 4. He is not having the same kind of game that he did last time around.
Yeah, not at all. Death Sentence will miss again, and that's going to cue QWERTY to come in. A big intervention is going to keep Wildheart alive, but will he stay that way? Ignites down, and he will take down at the end of that QWERTY. Picking up a killing spree now with 3 kills of his own. So we've transitioned from early game Clover holding all the kills to now a late game where, you know, there's a little bit more of that there. There's the disengage. Lex trying to kite this one out, but I don't think you can avoid that. Bubble's going to hit, and Clover just clobbering everything in his path. 7th kill of the game picked up for
Nike.
him. Is in a 2v1. He's yeah, a little bit difficult situation to ask for as QWERTY comes up top lane, has 4th kill, and honestly, this game is starting to snowball really hard against Hard Random. I don't know how they're going to turn this one around. Madwife's interventions have not been able to prevent any deaths, and honestly, just the damage is not there for Hard Random.
Yeah, and Clover actually diving behind this tower. I like what they've done here. They knew that because Lex had such a good game on Vayne last time round, Hard Random really wanted to give that to him again, and picking the Shyvana into it is doing so much work in the early game. About half of Shyvana's kills, I think, have been onto Lex. I'm pretty sure he's picked up all 3 of the kills onto him so far, just because he can stick to him so well with the Chilling Smite, the Cutlass. He's actually finished the Blade of the Ruined King now, so he is looking really strong, and he's just doing so much damage to Lex at the moment.
Yeah, and keep in mind, with 33 stacks on the Devouring passive from the Devouring enchant, he's got like 58 extra damage on hit. That's like that's crazy when you talk about what you're going to be dealing with in terms of damage. This is like you'd see from you know, like a solo queue Warwick build, but this is in a professional competitive game, and it's just snowballing out of control. I love the boldness to say, look, I'm ahead, and I'm going to try to get more ahead by building these aggressive items, and good to see it work out.
Oh, flash forward by QWERTY goes up though.
Right into the death sentence. There's some attempts at engage there by Kira.
Teleport.
He's gonna pop the barrier, but he's almost dead. TP coming in means he should disengage, but he's just gonna die to a charm coming in his way off the back of that. And while Nike is still alive, he's unable to do all that. Wait, what? Okay, no, I thought there was a condemned kill, but no, that was just a residual kill off the back of that. 1 for 3 exchange, diving in. Clover gonna get flashed away from, so Lex still alive, but Clover is huge. Diving through that turret is a big tanky dragon. Lex, last member left alive for Hard Random.
Right, so talking about the Shyvana with the Devourer enchant, Twin Bite means that you attack twice. If you're in dragon form, you cleave all the units in front of you, right? When you consider that both of those attacks add Devourer damage, you are bursting for a ridiculous amount early on, considering how many stacks she's got at the moment. And at this point, Clover can pretty much kill anyone. That last fight, though, where is Madwife's intervention? There was no intervention used. That might have been enough to make a difference.
Interventions in this game really just have not been very impressive. I think like only one has actually saved the life of the person that it has intervened for, and that one specifically just not even going off. So a little bit of a struggle now. Lex does still have Vayne, but not looking quite as impressive as in game 1. The hard engage is just too difficult for him to disengage from.
Oh,
and
Kira.
Wildheart just can't get it done. Kira maybe in a little bit of a rough spot, takes the Lantern on out. Man, I did not expect him to get out of that alive, but a great Lantern by Wildheart.
Yeah, and that's a nice situation for Hard Random. Trading the Dark Passage cooldown for Spirit Rush is decent. The problem is that they need to make something happen, or at the very least, avoid getting something happened unto them, you know, while Spirit Rush is on cooldown. So it's going to be a difficult situation considering there aren't really any objectives that Hard Random can go for right now. Dragon is not up. And if you look at the side lanes, they've only really got the ability to push down mid right now. That's the only low tower. Madwife, he's getting chunked.
I will throw a slow backwards, but he's going to have to pop that intervention to avoid the culling flash on out there too, and just about everything. Still not able to get out of that alive. And honestly, this is one of the big reasons that Hard Random are having such a big difficulty.
Lex.
Now in a rough spot, Lex is just going to get crit down over the wall, but a perfect death sentence into that Dragon's Descent. Beautiful play by Wildheart, but it's just not enough. Heeding on top of the other side of the map in a rough spot by himself, but he'll just be able to walk away from Nike. And even though Wildheart was able to survive, the rest of his team not quite so lucky.
Oh, Heedon can get away. No, that was a really nice twisted advance through the glacial path there. But, you know, talking about Lex there, that was literally just Tickly and Death Knight catching him out because Clover actually didn't even get an assist. He got no damage down. QWERTY, he's going in again.
And with more damage to come out than even that exhaust matters. Actually, the exhaust keeps Wildheart alive. That is really impressive damage reduction. Makes it back to the base, but unfortunately, I think things are about to go from bad to worse here as continual onslaught from Renaissance trying to make a difference.
Yeah, Yeah, Clover did have to flash out there. That does mean he's not going to have quite the same engage potential as he has before. But really, Hard Random need to stop the bleeding. They need to get to a point where Lex can actually carry them. At the moment, he's 3 for 4 for 2, which considering he was 3 for 0 to begin with, is awful. He's doing such a bad job of actually keeping on top here, and Clover is definitely the reason for that. 9 for 0 for 4. His debut Shyvana performance is just destroying them right now.
A lot of good poke here, and another death sentence lands onto Clover as he tries to drag his ascent. Now Lex is in the back dealing a lot of damage. Clover is actually going to go down. Now Tickley in a little bit of a rough spot will be forced to flash backwards. There is an intervention trying to save Wildheart. He'll still go down to Hedon's Ice Shard, but a shutdown there for Kira is still a great way to finish this team fight right of the Arcane for a double kill. And that's a 4 for 1 in favor of Hard Random.
That fight was 100% just the CC chain on Clover, just stopping him from getting onto Lex. Lex, after he kills Clover, can move around, especially if Cordy's already burned the Spirit Rush, which is what happened there. So, really, really nice job. They're going for a Baron right now, but no one is very healthy at the moment. Madwife almost
this is a terrible idea. How badly does QWERTY want a quadra kill? Pretty badly. He's going to be walking into this one. And there's one kill. Where's the second? Gets a charm. There's a double. There's a triple. 2 executes, though, deny the quadra. And what a Baron attempt. Hard Random at long last won a team fight and just threw it away.
That was such a bad call from Hard Random. Obviously, Baron is a lot stronger than it used to be, and even if it wasn't, QWERTY had the Spirit Rush off cooldown by that point. Is very low cooldown at this point, only 80 seconds. They just went straight in with her, and Baron actually being one of the MVPs of this game for Renaissance, picking up 2 kills there. But at this point, Renaissance, they're going to get this Baron, and the comeback that we start to see from Hard Random is just disappearing rapidly.
Once again, great word choice, but not quite as much better than the decision making we're seeing from Hard Random. They are once again at a very, very difficult juncture of this game, and now have to deal with even more pushing power coming their way from Renaissance. They're going to come back out of the base, and even top lane, man, the 1v2 Nike, very, very tanky, but look at the lockdown. He's even with all that tankiness. Those crits from Death Knight are ridiculous. Taking him down and the turret as well.
Look at the build that Death Knight is going for, by the way. He's picked up the Static Shiv Infinity Edge. He's going straight for a Bloodthirster next. He wants to be chunking people, and I love that decision against this team comp, because you've got so many relatively squishy targets that you can burst down fast. You can go for Lex, who, you know, as a short-range AD carry, has to be kind of close, which means Death Knight can maybe go on her. He can also go for Kira, he can also go for Madwife. All those people building lots of AD and crit against is really strong. He needs some armor pen now, though, because at this point, he's going to start to struggle against some of the other members. That said, Nike, you know, he's actually gone straight for a Locket of the Iron Solari, which against the AA-AP team makes sense, and that's allowing Death Knight to go for this straight AD build.
What's super weird to me is this Kale build from Madwife. There's a Ranger's Trailblazer, which I guess is okay, and then the Magus Enchantment, still a little weird. But then to rush to Zhonya's as your next item, maybe you need it to stay alive, but at the same time, we haven't even seen interventions work at keeping Madwife alive, and that's like a Zhonya's where you can move. So, not sure if this is necessarily going to make him more effective. Maybe you just go for Nashor's Tooth and try to deal with as much damage as you can. But at this point in the game, Renaissance come out of the jungle with everything they could possibly want. A huge Baron buffed up minion wave, extra magic resistance from that Baron buff put up, and just tons of poke. There is the engage. Nike's going hard, and Kira's actually able to pick up a kill on a Death Knight before the fight even starts. A great assassination, and exactly what Hard Random needed to stay alive.
I do not what Death Knight doing that far up. He's not even beginning to move when he saw Knight coming closer. Now Clover getting engage time.
Another great engagement with an intervention onto Nike. He's actually going to stay alive during all of that. Big engage over the wall, though, from Hedon, but he does fall in the end. Lex still alive, and with QWERTY, still a lot of damage to come his way. There's the flash, the bubble. It's not going to work out. Tickley's going to go down, and a 4 for 2 exchange in favor of Hard Random. Luckily, Baron is not up, so not a place they can go throw, but for the time being, their inhibitor's going to respawn. They do need to get back and save it, because there is a super minion knocking it down.
We might see them go for the triple execute on Wolves, potentially. That could be something to go for.
An interesting strategy.
I think most likely what they're wanting to do is just defend this inhibitor, try and get some more farm onto Lex whilst he's got room to maneuver around the map and go for that, and then, you know, maybe get some more of those fights. Red buff's actually up, so that's going to be a nice pickup for Lex. But talking about that fight that just happened, first things first, what was Death Knight doing? He was so far up, did not even begin to start moving back when we saw the engage coming out from Nike. He got burst instantly. Then, Clover tried to wait for an ambush in the side bush, but because of the sapling, they knew he was there, went straight onto him, and a great intervention in the last second stopped Nike from falling. Really solid play from Hard Random, but I would argue that was also quite a big misplay coming out of Renaissance.
Oh, definitely. Death Knight had no business being that far forward. He also hasn't decided to build a defensive item, even though he's, like, honestly doing very, very well and doing a large percentage of his team's damage. The other interesting thing for me is that, and really a big critique for Hard Random is, while yes, they're losing the game, they're also losing the Vision War. I actually saw Lex take red buff, and he avoided checking either bush to kill off both of the pink wards set up already. So vision very important, but not losing your 80 carry under turret also an important thing to have happen. Death Sentence pulls Clover on in there. We'll see if he's gonna go down. Here's the big fight. Might actually end the game and dive in, but a big intervention onto Lex keeps him safe, keeps him sound. He's actually gonna go down, but with his big Zonya's hourglass, he's actually gonna stay alive from all this. Lex trying to kite out another Zonya's to deny his engagement. Courtney is gonna go down with Lex diving in there. No, does not get taken out, but a big snipe from Kira off the back of that. Inhibitor does fall, but in the end, it's a 3 for 2. Once again, team fight in favor of Hard Random.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason that was in favor of them, though, is Death Knight basically spent the entire fight hitting the inhibitor, and Lex very nearly fell there to QWERTY, actually, towards the end. He tumbled into the second bounce, or the recalling part of the Orb of Deception, so he nearly fell to that, and Right of the Arcane hit nobody that fight. It was used right away at the beginning. Kira hit no one. Had that landed, maybe Hard Random could have defended the inhibitor. This game is just coming down to the smallest of edges for both teams. It's actually quite close at this point because Lex is getting very strong.
Lex is getting strong. You've got a Death Cap Void Staff combo for Kira, so eventually you get to 6 items on both teams, no matter how far behind one of them was at one point. And even though there's a ton of luxury items on Renaissance, honestly, most of them are offensive items. The number of defensive items is just very, very, very low. Maybe you can count Zonya's in that category, a couple of Kindle gems out there, and Aranduin's on Clover, but that's about it. So when stuff dies, it dies so fast. And honestly, that's what we've been seeing from Hard Random. They were able to snipe out Death Knight. They were able to kill Clover a lot more easily than you'd expect. And with interventions to stop all this dive burst from going in onto Lex, this team comp is actually really effective from Hard Random, even though they've been so far behind all game long.
If Lex can get to the point where he gets an Infinity Edge, I think Hard Random can turn this around. Basically, if you look at Clover's items right now, it's mostly aggressive stuff. Right now, he's actually working towards some magic resist. He's got the Randuins, but because Vayne does a lot of true damage too, that plus the crits will definitely be enough to take him down quickly. On the other side, there is no other front line for Renaissance. They've just got Clover, so if Lex can get that Infinity Edge and burst people down, that is the point at which Hard Random really start to take a driver's seat in fights. And arguably at the moment, they're already doing a pretty good job.
Coming out of the base again here, second time or third or whatever time this is the charm here for Renaissance. And honestly, at this point, sooner or later, you have to think to yourself, well, it's not really working out when we just dive on in. Maybe trying a different strategy is what's called for. About a minute left until Dragon and Baron are back up, and at some point, just getting gold, getting items is not what's going to win you the game. You need to have a strategy that works. Tickly's strategy is walking as far into the enemy jungle alone as you possibly can, and somehow making it out alive. A little bit of a missed opportunity at picking up that kill, but once again, that is just because there is almost no ward coverage out from hard random rather. They finally get out some in their junglers. They're clearing out a few of the pink wards and putting up some of their own. So nice to see that at least up on the top half of the map. And I take it back. It's not quite no ward coverage because they do have some around that Baron, or around the dragon rather, for when it respawns.
Yeah, but what they really need right now is Baron ward coverage. That's coming up very soon, only 20 seconds left, and if they don't have good ward coverage, it would be very easy for Renaissance to sneak one due to the fact that the super minions are pushing up mid lane. And actually, Wildheart might get caught here. Whoa, that charm was just a hair's breadth away. And actually, Madwife wants to take this opportunity to go in, it looks like.
Got a flank coming in, a big bubble on a Madwife, but there's Heat Force the ult himself. Wildheart's gonna be the recipient of that intervention with a condemned backwards on a Death Knight. Want to keep him out of the fight. Clover still alive, still barely in there, but Kira's gonna be the one to snipe down Heaton. This is actually a decent fight for hard random, but they do lose their top laner and support. Ton of snipe damage coming down. Whoa, Quirta can't buy a dodge there as Kira keeps sniping him down.
Yeah, actually, that was a really good fight for Renaissance because they got so much poke onto Heaton at the beginning. He had to use Frozen Tomb on himself, where the AoE would hardly hit. And Death Knight,
oh my goodness, Shocking Orb into Condemn, and a perfect wombo combo there to take Death Knight down. And while there is a huge wave of minions pushing in onto the top turret there for hard random, they're not too concerned about that. They're too busy taking towers, and honestly in a much better spot than I ever thought I'd see them in this game.
Well, this is the story of, Vayne, basically. You start off a bit shaky, and eventually you get to the point where you can dominate. Last game, a very uncharacteristic Vayne game. Obviously, Lex got incredibly far ahead early. This game wasn't able to do quite the same thing, but now, starting to get to that point where she can really make the difference. And actually, also, because Nike is so tanky right now, that is what won them the fight. Being able to go in that deep on everyone, tank up 4 or 5 members, and then manage to get Heaton down was what won them that fight. Also, Death Knight, his positioning needs to improve for Renaissance if they don't want to throw this game away. That is twice now that he has been instantly popped due to poor positioning.
So Death Knight's positioning a little bit rough to see, and in response to having a questionable positioning, he buys a pickaxe and an elixir of wrath. Neither one of those are a Banshee's Veil, or, hell, a Zonya's Hourglass would have worked out pretty well in a few of these situations. You just have to stay alive, and Death Knight can't seem to do it in a lot of these fights, so he's leaving it up to the rest of his team to keep him alive there, but it looks like Tickley is the only one concerned at doing that and isn't able to because she keeps getting picked off over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, at least if you buy a Zonyas on Death Knight, Ardent Blaze scales with that, right? I think the culling does as well to a certain extent.
In fact, AP Lucian used to be a big deal until they realized that it actually dealt stupid amounts of damage on the culling, so glad that was thwarted in the design process. We don't have to deal with AP Lucians out there.
Back when it was on the PBE, I actually streamed AP Lucian, got tons of viewers doing it because it was broken. Zal Cordy, though, he's going in. Kira is able to get away here.
Big start to the fight there. Nice job tanking it up in the back line, but you have to keep the carry safe. Madwife forced to flash away, but Kira's the one doing the snipe down. Death Sentence lands on the corner. He is going to die there after a flash away. Big snipe for a double kill there, and just look at Renaissance. They can't figure out what to do. They managed to kill Lex, and at that point, their plan kind of fell apart. Daiki's still trying to get into this. Tickley is almost certainly dead, but with a flash engage onto Death Knight, does get him Mikhails to keep himself safe. He's kiting out Nike. He's actually taking a lot of damage from this. Red buff taking him down too, but a big team fight win for Hard Random, who just aren't giving up.
That intervention was insane. It actually blocked the damage from Frozen Tomb. So Heaton jumped in, used basically Lissandra's signature skill, the one that does all the burst, the one that is going to win your team fight, and it got nothing except for locking up Kira for a few seconds. Kira then, because he has so much more damage over the course of the fight, Hard Random, really, they're not having any luck with Barons this game, but yes, Kira in that last fight was the MVP for me, just did so much, and Madwife's intervention, honorable mention, that was insane.
Yeah, Barons are not Hard Random's friends. They need to learn how to either just not go for that objective, rotate for different ones, or figure out something more productive to do on the map. Because Baron is not going to be the way that they win this game. The way that they win is just going to be smashing RNC in team fights over and over again. And Renaissance, it's like, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, and that's honestly what they're doing, continually trying to, like, it doesn't take a lot of finesse to be like, alright, we need to kill the Vayne. What they need to do is have a backup plan afterwards, or at least not overcommit so hard that when they kill the Vayne, they don't have anything left over afterwards.
Yeah, the problem was that QWERTY kind of jumped the gun there. She went in, and because she couldn't get on to Kira, had to Zhonya's at the beginning of the fight. Following that, Hedon goes in, and a great intervention stops the damage on Kira. And at that point, two of their best tools for starting the fight are gone. The DFG was used, some of the Spirit Rush charges were used, the Zhonya's was gone. Lex, yes, he did fall to Death Knight and Clover, but he did a good amount of damage before he went down. And oh, Clover getting engaged on here.
Big engage, one way to start the fight there. Death Knight in the back's gonna get hit by 1, 2, all 3 rights of the Arcane. A big intervention will keep Nike alive, and even though Wildheart will fall, could this be the fight that turns the game around? Big Zon is there from Hedon. Lex counting things out, he gets the crit, he's actually able to take down Ari. Zilsander's gonna fall there too, and Tickley and Death Knight trying to chase off onto Nike, who is the sole surviving member. Hard random from the fight.
Man, that was a very forward engage by Nike. I don't think that was the best call. The rest of his team were too far behind. The right of the Arcane, though, was beautiful from Kira. Did so much damage to the backline. Death Knight basically wasn't even in that fight, but Kira walks up, and Hedon gets an amazing Frozen Tomb onto 3 people, which is the biggest reason why that fight went their way. That just did so much damage. Lex, you know, props to him and Nike for being able to pick up QWERTY at the end of the fight, but it just wasn't enough. Really nice play by Hedon.
This game is ridiculous. Hard random are just not giving up, and I love this sort of tenacity. While it won't reduce the duration of any crowd control, it will keep them in the game just a little bit longer. Quicksilver Sash now finally picked up by Death Knight. That's what I like to see. You notice he survived that last fight, which has to be scary reality for Hard Random, knowing that now not only is he starting to fix his positioning errors, but with a Quicksilver Sash, it's just going to be that much harder to lock up. Another thing that QSS is going to do is give him some magic resistance to stop taking all this burst from guys like Kira, who landed all 3 hits from Rite of the Arcane at the beginning of that fight. Definitely doing his job, and with almost 800 ability power, Kira is just going to keep dealing more and more damage. Can Death Knight survive from it? It's going to be kind of telling the tale of this next fight, which might actually happen around Dragon. And like we said, one of the ways that Renaissance can win this game by picking up that mythical 5th dragon for a huge buff in stats.
Oh, here we
what
go.
They're going for. This is what it's going to be coming down to. Nike taking things up as much as he possibly can, but he's caught out by himself, and he can't escape alive. He's actually going to get a nice intervention, which will keep him safe and sound, but he's actually going to go down as Clover, cutting back to the back of the fight. Big engages there. Zonya's from Hedon will keep him alive. A Death Sentence will take him down, though, and Lex trying to cut things out. Will he go down there? Is he able to escape? The answer is yes, and so he will stay alive, but not quite so lucky. Madwife, Nike go down, Hedon goes down too, and overall, this will be the 5th dragon of the game for Renaissance. They will take that down, turn into some cool, awesome dragony effects that wind up just dealing a lot more damage, and with doubled stats on all those dragon buffs, Renaissance starting to look even scarier.
Yeah, I mean, really, the story of that fight was simply that Nike was way too far out. Kira wasn't really in position at the beginning of it, did get some good rights to the Arcane down after it started, but when you have to keep burning your intervention onto your Maokai, it means that you can't put it onto someone like Kira. Can't put it, even onto Madwife would be more useful. We need to see Kira get a Zonya's, though, so that he can play a little bit further up and not be so reliant on that intervention in order to go in. But now, Baron's being started out here, and everyone's up on Hard Random. If they can get here in time, here comes the teleport.
TP coming in. There's Kira off to the side, not able to snipe anybody out.
Oh,
got
Nike.
Clover very lower, but Nike almost going down again. He just can't buy enough tank stats to stay alive in these fights. And nice snipes coming out from Kira. Look at those rights to the arcade, or rather Arcano pulses with those Eyes of Destruction. No kills just yet, but man, Kira carrying these fights, landing so much damage off the disengage.
Yeah, if Kira hadn't landed all of that poke, it would have been so easy for Renaissance to go in there. So really nice job by him. Lex, I actually want to commend him for what he did there, even though it didn't end up paying off because he had great position. He was in a position where as soon as he even jumped over the wall to go on Kira, he would be able to flank in, and because we already saw Spirit Rush out of Ahri, we already saw a lot of the cooldowns being used, he would have been able to do some serious work in the backlines. But very nice job by Kira, basically, just being able to poke them off of that Baron. There's no teleport now, though, for Nike, so he's not going to be able to go back into that if he decides to go, for example, push out this bottom lane. Kira, he's got the wave clear. He's going to be the one that hard random sent to that bot lane in order to do that. But they need to be careful. In fact, yeah, this is smart. They're backing straight off because this Baron is going to go down. So, whoa, the damage to that Baron is so insane.
Yeah, the dragon buff, even still, I think it's called the aspect of the dragon. Oh, the snipe's coming in, but it's not good enough for the steal. Now, 5th dragon buff, the, what did I say that was called? Aspect of dragon, as well as the hand of Baron, and 6 items on just about everyone here on Renaissance, coming out with every buff in the game, and more than enough that they need to clear out this game. But hard random, like we said, just never giving up. Big guy I'm going to be looking for is Nike. He needs as many tank items as he can buy. He's doing a good job tanking up all that damage, but he's doing it without the rest of his team able to make use of that effectiveness. So you gotta look for him to get tanky up there big in the front, and you know, Lex, he's been sitting on 6 items for a long time, has Zephyr now in place of a defensive item. This Vayne is gonna be ridiculous, but has to stay alive to do it.
Yeah, one thing that's a bit weird about Nike's build is that he's gone for both the Frozen Heart and the Randuin's Omen. You do not need that much armor against this comp. Death Knight, yes, he does some good damage, but Hedon and Qwerty are the ones that are really doing the damage to him right now. Qwerty, last fight, picked him off so very quickly at the beginning as soon as he teleported into Baron Pit. He needs more MR. That is just 100% what the deal is. Look at that. Look at the damage he just did. He did a quarter of Nike's health in one combo. If that happened before the fight started, it's very easy for Renaissance to do. Because Nike's on front line, he is going to struggle. And at this point, you know, even Nami is buying Sorcerer's Pots on Renaissance. They are just going for this hard.
Big culling coming out, but it's actually not going to hit. The DFG's coming out, but immediate CC and Zonya's on to Qwerty. Look at the dive for the back line. Can they catch out onto Lex? He's counting backwards. Clovers is going to go down. Lex still alive. Can they get crit out there? Death Knight flashing into an intervention, and Lex is going to pick up a double kill. Could this be the turnaround of the fight? It's a 2-for-2 exchange, and perfect intervention, baiting Death Knight into diving forward and dying to Lex.
Also, mad props to Wildheart there. Completely stopped Hedon's engagement. That is a huge factor in that last fight. Radiant Arcane again coming off.
1, 2, 3, gonna miss on a Hedon, but he gets crit down by Lex. He's gonna tumble in. No bubble, gonna save and flash out from Tickly, but is it enough? Yes, with the, wait, no. Yes, Lex going all the way. 1 auto attack, 2, gets hit by a bubble under turret. He's getting exhausted. Is he gonna throw the game here? Madwife diving through there as well, gonna be forced to disengage here, and way too deep on that dive.
Had he dodged the bubble, he might have at the very least been able to get Tickly there, but really just too deep. They should have gone for something else. Maybe the tower, maybe just gone for some waves. Spirit Rush here. Oh, Madwife.
He's got that intervention again and might actually have the damage, but he got no mana. No way to turn that fight around. Oh. Shocking orb right into him. Is this the kill on the Qwerty? Oh my goodness, Kira comes up huge, and with the distortion upgrade on his boots, Nike able to get that teleport back up and come back into the fight. This team fight just will not end. This game is one of the most ridiculous games I've cast in a long time. And that's an adjective I'm going to be using a lot this game, so you probably better get used to it.
I agree with you, man. Like, those last 2 kills onto Lex and Qwerty were just skin of the teeth moments, which could have gone the other way so easily. And actually, Death Knight, he might be able to get Wildheart here. He does see him with Stronghold, but Nike is nearby. Dragon's up really soon, and it is so important that Hard Random pick this one up. They are only on 1 dragon stack right now, and if they give over another aspect of the dragon to Renaissance, it's going to make their lives so difficult. So denying this, plus getting the ability to shove the minions, or actually no, they swapped it around, so getting the ability to kill the towers a bit faster means that if they win some fights, they're going to be able to snowball.
Here we go, Dragon gonna go down here, and like you said, it will give them the ability to push a little bit harder. Clover going into the fight and right back out of it. Dragon's descent out of the pits. Madwife was able to secure that Dragon, so no steal. And a little bit strange from Clover. If you steal the Dragon, like sure you get a bunch of extra stats from it, but risking your death this late in the game is a little bit too big of a risk to take.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a decent number of ways out with that Dragon's descent, but if he'd been like flayed backwards during that or something, that could have spelled the end for Renaissance. And now the siege is coming out here. Clover is very far away from a Dragon's descent right now. Death Knight, whoa!
Right to the arcane, chucking him down. 1, 2, 3. Kira snipes him out. Perfect. Right to the arcane, landing all 3 shots, and that's 70-second death timer for Death Knight. As High Random pushing into the base, they're gonna take down the first base turret of the game. And what am I watching? Is this the comeback that we've been waiting for? At 47 minutes, it's Hard Random taking an inhibitor.
This is just an insane game, and Death Knight, you know, he's got to be kicking himself right now, getting caught twice, but here we go. Last-ditch effort.
Base turret's gonna fall. Lex still hitting the turret, doing a good job, and now he's actually gonna turn on that final hour. Will get bursted down, but an intervention saves his life.
Oh.
He's invulnerable and no way to take him down there off to the back of Sigilis. I think this is the comeback.
I think you're right, Rapid, and what a comeback it was. Hard Random are going to be advancing 2-0 through the losers bracket. Renaissance knocked out of the tournament, and mad props to Hard Random, especially Kira this game. Last game it was all about Lex. This game it was all about Kira. That was insane play. Props to Clover though. You know, the Shyvana did some serious work.
Yeah, 2 members of Renaissance finished the game at 11-7 and 17. Courtney and Clover putting up some